The Urban Garden Survival Show podcast, episode 1, how to create your own urban garden survival plan, starting today. So welcome to the very first episode of the Urban Garden Survival Show, and I'm your host. My name's Lynn Carey, and you might be just wondering, who am I anyway, and why should you listen to me? So just to let you know a little bit about myself, I'm a mother of 5 children and a grandmother of 6. And over the years, a whole lot more years than I care to think, I've really had a long-term interest in self-sufficiency and a whole lot of related activities. And I'm also a registered nurse, and I've had extra training in natural health methods as well. Plus, I've been organic gardening for over 35 years. So with all of that, I have a lot of tips and things that I can share with other people. So this is what inspired me to do Urban Garden Survival. Now, the very first show, what will we be covering today? Well, I wanted to fill you in on a little bit of details about what I want to cover with Urban Garden Survival. What's it all about? You know, the main topics, what's to expect in the upcoming podcasts and on my website and other pages. And the big goal for today is that I want to give you a starting point with each one of the main topics that I'll want to be covering. So at the end, I want to be able to give you something that you can do next, and I also will fill you in on what's happening in the next episode. So there's 3 main topics really that I wanted to cover with Urban Garden Survival. There's 3 things that to me are all very interrelated and in some way or another are dependent on each other. So organic gardening is obviously the first thing, and obviously again growing your own fresh produce, vegetables and herbs, no matter how vegetables, herbs and fruit, no matter how small your situation, you know, even if you can only grow 1 pot, then you're growing something, you're doing something, you're learning some valuable skills. And these skills are really useful when it comes to self-sufficiency and survival, which is the other related topic, or the other related main topic, because underneath each one of these main topics there's obviously just a myriad of other related subtopics. So obviously some things to do with survival might relate to gardening and other things may not. The third main topic is natural health, improving your own health with the 8 laws of health. Growing your own fresh produce is obviously going to help improve your health. If you are wanting to be able to survive difficult situations or emergency situations, then it's a good one to be healthy, but also to know how to deal with health situations or challenges using natural alternatives, because you may not have access to medical help. So these are all part of what I'm wanting to cover with the whole website, and just to cover a little bit more information with each one of those 3 main topics. Organic gardening, obviously being able to grow your own food, you know, it's a pretty valuable skill, and hopefully you may never have to be dependent on that, but if you ever were, it would certainly be a pretty good thing to know how to do it. So even if your life never fully depends on your ability to grow your own food, in the meantime you obviously are going to be able to enjoy a whole lot of benefits currently and for the future. You know, mental and physical health benefits, financial benefits, the convenience factors where you can just go out and pick some fresh greens for your meal. You know, just the environmental aspect of it, being able to not harm the environment with harmful chemicals and pesticides, and or yourself for that matter, and to you know, basically be doing a good thing for the soil and for your immediate environment. Now, vegetables, obviously you can grow whatever you want to, perhaps only limited by the space that you've got available and, you know, maybe the climate that you live in, and, you know, obviously there are limits, but you can choose what ones you want to grow. Fruits, obviously, whether you want to grow strawberries or other berries or even miniature fruit trees, again, you're limited by your space and what your situation is, your climate and your surroundings perhaps. So herbs, again, similar sort of thing. You want to be able to grow them for your recipes or what you eat, but you also want to perhaps be able to use herbs for so many other things, such as for your health benefits, the herbal remedies, and for other household things that you can make as well, that can, from cleaners to, deodorizing a room, or even antiseptic qualities that you can use. So there's a whole lot of things you can do with herbs. Now, the other thing is, how do you get started with organic gardening? Well, again, this depends a little bit on your own situation and whether you're going to be starting outside, if you've got a little bit of soil that you can use and a little bit of a yard, or whether you just need to be able to do it inside or on a balcony. Obviously, if you're going indoor gardening, then there's special things you need to take into consideration, things like lighting. Are you going to need to have artificial lighting so that your plants can get enough of the proper type of light? What sort of containers? How you're going to water them and feed them, and space, again, is another issue. Have you got enough room, and how many pots, etc.? Do you have a balcony or a patio, perhaps, where you are able to grow some plants and use that space to grow some of your own food? Again, lighting considerations. Does it get a fair bit of sunlight? Will you have to supplement some of that with some extra lighting? And again, what sort of containers are you going to go, pots or vertical garden, etc. So there's a whole lot of things that you want to consider there. Now, outdoors, if you've got that option, then again, you still need to consider space. You still need to consider how many hours of sunlight a day, because obviously vegetables and food crops do need a good amount, maybe 5 to 6 hours of sunlight a day. You want to consider how easy it is to be able to water the plants, and again, are you going to have enough room to just grow them in the ground, or are you going to actually have containers as well? A lot of people do both. So if you're totally new to gardening, obviously, with anything, it's always good to start small and then work your way up, especially as you hone your skills and you improve as you go. And then basically, no matter what type of gardening you're going to start with, even if it's just you're going to grow one pot as a starting point, which is fine, then you still want to plan it. You want to think about carefully just what plants you want to grow. Are you going to need lighting, etc.? So you want to plan that whole thing. And if you've done that planning, get all your equipment together, have it all ready, then it'll just make putting it all together just that much easier when you actually get to doing it. Now, self-sufficiency and survival, ensuring you and your family are prepared for any unexpected emergency event. No matter where we are really in the world, we can potentially experience the effects of some sort of an emergency situation, something unexpected, whether it's bad weather events or natural disasters, and there just seems to be so many of those happening. They seem to be increasing every year. Whether it's flash flooding and storms to an electromagnetic pulse, whatever it might be that you want to prepare for, you want to be able to consider what risks you have where you are. Now, you may experience challenging personal events. I know I heard a story about a fellow who became unemployed, and fortunately he had been putting aside stores, so he'd had a store of basic requirements and food, and they actually found that as a family was something that actually saved them during that period of time where he had trouble getting more work. And it just was a godsend, because they actually had that to fall back on, and they didn't know how they would have managed had they not had that. So, even if it's just something like that, or a medical emergency, or some other drain on your personal finances that might just make just meeting everyday expenses just that much more difficult. And obviously, more and more, there's civil and social unrest and other similar events, riots, bombings, shootings, and terrorist attacks. It's just really a very uncertain world that we're living in, and hopefully these things never happen, but certainly being prepared for them. It's like, you're hope for the best but prepare for the worst. So just how are you going to actually do that? How do you get started? Well, again, even if you have to start small, it's better to start small and then work your way up as you're getting better with what you're doing and gradually improving as you go. So basically the first thing you could probably do really is to do an emergency assessment on your own situation. Consider where you're living, what perhaps your biggest weather or environmental risks might be. Like where I am, I'm well out of flood area, but we certainly get storms, so I could have wind damage potentially from high winds. I could have bushfire damage, lightning strikes. There's a whole number of things that could potentially affect me where I am. So maybe you're in an area that's susceptible to earthquakes or tornadoes or tidal waves or whatever it might be. So assess your situation. Don't forget things like, the potential for a house fire, which really does take a little bit of planning as well. You want to be able to prepare your family to manage if such an event would occur. Hopefully it doesn't. Creating a plan for each type of emergency. So you have a family meeting, you discuss whatever these plans are. You might run little fire drills for, if there's a house fire and where you meet, how you handle it, so that every family member knows what they're going to do in a particular emergency situation. And basically, even if you tend to be in a situation where, like I said, you're out of floodwaters, but my local supermarket during a recent flood ran out of food. So fortunately I had some stores put away, and even though it didn't last long on that particular occasion, it was really nice to know that I did have some things put away. So that was really helpful. So starting small, just the same as with your garden, and you might want to allocate some space to where you can start to collect or store provisions, considering emergency items as well as survival items. Consider things like food, warmth, shelter, water, clean water. They're all really important things. Start stocking up on those things. Perhaps when you go shopping, you can put one or two extra things in your cart that you can bring home and put in your store. You might want to start getting each member of the family to have their own bug out bag or their own 72-hour pack. That just means really that you take that wherever you go, so that if you happen to be at work or you happen to be at school and something unexpected happens, well, at least you've got your basic survival gear there for at least 3 days, and you can, maybe get somewhere else where you've got extra supplies, whether that's back home or some other place where you might have something stored. Just give these things a little bit of thought, but probably those two things would be really good places to get started. So natural health, obviously a little bit of a disclaimer here. This is not about diagnosing or curing diseases or meant to be a substitute for consulting a medical practitioner or a health professional. And if you have any health conditions, then please consult your health professional concerning your own individual health needs. This is all meant to be for education and self-help purposes only. So start educating yourself. That's perhaps the first place to start. And, natural health focuses primarily on prevention. And but obviously there are times where you need to be able to understand some basic treatments and remedies. And prevention being the first place to start, there's the 8 laws of health. And if you actually are following all of these things and you are doing it on a consistent basis, then you're going to greatly reduce your chances of developing chronic illness. Now, herbal remedies, obviously growing herbs both for the kitchen as well as for improving health and assisting with your health problems. Well, you can just start with some regular ones that you can use, and also hydrotherapy and other home remedies. there's just simple treatments you can do at home with things that you have around the house that you might have in your kitchen or even your bathroom that you can actually make use of to help when you have some sort of first aid situation or medical problems, but you've got limited access to medical aid. So how do you get started? Again, starting small. Well, prevention, 8 laws of health, exercise, nutrition, water, sunlight, rest, temperance, fresh air, and trust in divine power. These are 8 laws of health. And what you probably would be well off doing is just basically pay attention to your own life situation and that of your family. You know, do you get regular exercise? You know, what's your nutrition like? Do you eat a lot of fresh produce, or are you actually having a lot of processed foods and high sugar content, etc.? Do you get to drink at least 2 to 3 litres of water a day? Are you having regular sunlight on your skin without using the chemical blocking, sun blocking creams? There are some natural ones you can get, and certainly you want to be wise with how you expose yourself to the sun, but a small amount of sunlight at the right time of day is really essential for your skin. And, well, not only for your skin, for your health, basically. Things like vitamin D and being able to help you with sleeping and different things, which brings us to rest, which is the next one. You know, do you sleep well? Are you undergoing a lot of extreme stress at the moment or recently? Temperance, which is really to do with self-control, and it means avoiding anything that's bad as well as having what's good for you in moderation. Fresh air, obviously we all need good clean air, and that could be a challenge in some urban settings, which is probably a good reason to be moving to the country, which is where I want to go. But meanwhile, if we're in an urban setting, we want to be able to do what we can. So trust in divine power. Well, I believe in God. That's my personal belief, and obviously we all have the right to make to choose what higher power, if any, that we do believe in. But it has been scientifically shown that people who do have a faith are actually, or do benefit from that from a health point of view. So it is one of the 8 laws of health for that reason. It also helps with our mental health, to be grounded, and again, it's a personal thing, but there has been studies that do indicate people with faith do suffer or do experience better health as a result. So just ask yourself these questions, and you know, just pay attention to how you're going with those things, and start maybe making some changes, little things at a time. Just maybe start improving your water intake, start cutting down on sugar, making sure you're exercising more, things like that. Now, herbal remedies, obviously, start growing some of the basic herbs and learning about them, how you can use them in your everyday life, whether it's in teas or salves or in other preparations, and, you know, start experimenting with some of those things. So your hydrotherapy and other remedies. Now, you know, there's a whole range of different treatments, obviously, but, you know, one simple treatment is like hot and cold treatment, which is really good for some chronic pain. If you have chronic pain, you can apply hot and cold treatments, and it'll help to bring the blood flow in and out of the area to help relieve pain and to help heal the area. Other things like raw potato, if you grate that up, that's good for small burns. Obviously, if you've burnt yourself, depending on how severe that is, you may need to seek medical attention, but certainly in the meantime, things like applying something cool to that, which is what potato can do, plus it has potassium and other things that seem to be able to ease and soothe a burn. So what can you do next? Okay, well, I'd really appreciate you going to visit urbangardensurvival.com, and if you're interested in a 40-page ebook about container gardening, getting started with container gardening, well then if you wanted to subscribe, you can actually get that download straight away, and also you'll start to receive a 7-part mini course on basic organic gardening, and so that's available if you're interested. The other thing is, if you haven't visited the Facebook page that I've got there, Urban Garden Survival, and you haven't, well, if you haven't liked it already and you would like to like it, then I'd appreciate that too. Perhaps you'd like to share something that, you know, some experience you've had with gardening, or a tip, or ask a question. Certainly, you know, I'd be really happy for you to do that. The other thing is, you might want to check out my YouTube channel and follow me on Twitter. And I'll be, if you do subscribe, then I will be advising you anyway of what will be happening when I'm bringing out the next episode of the next podcast, or when I've posted an article or other things that might interest you. So the next episode, I wanted to cover 10 popular veggies that you can grow in your organic urban garden. And if you'd also like to see the videos that these podcasts come from, then you can also head over to the website or to my YouTube channel, and as I said, as a subscriber, I'll let you know when they're coming out. So until next time, this is Lynn Carey, and thank you very much for listening. I really appreciate that, and I hope that until next time you have a great day, and I wish you good health and happy gardening, and check out urbangardensurvival.com today. Thank you for listening. Take care. Bye.